Okay, so why don't we start making a map then? Yeah, well, you know, D20 or D20. Whoa, Estwild, hello. Good evening to you. Yeah, look, memory lapse even on a random D20 roll, right? It's kind of low. Can't even get the chat stuff to work. Tried the other day. So wait, do you mean in here GM Vault, or are you talking about like on your own virtual tabletop? King says you are destined to lose before you ever rolled. All actions have predetermined outcomes. Huh. Well, GM Vault. GM Vault, just try typing in !exp. Oh, there you go. Now, sometimes it could be a matter of timing, GM, as there are global cooldowns on some of the commands. So you may have tried too soon after someone else beat you to that roll or to that command. Okay, yeah. So it's just a matter of timing, probably. All right, why don't we make a map, okay? Do you all have your handy-dandy canvas of MS Paint loaded up? Look, I'm no Bob Ross, but we can certainly make a fun map, something kind of compelling. We can make a region, and we'll have it come alive. What I think would be fun is if we... Let's mix it up, right? We're not dealing in a predetermined area such as King is saying with Mesotopia. Instead, why don't we find two major elements of the area that we're in? And you have druids and rangers that have 8 different biomes in which they can excel or have certain benefits. I'm going to roll a d8 twice, and let's find out the two major themes to the area, the city, the countryside surrounding a society, a fort, or something. 2d8, and these are the biomes that we're getting. 8 and 4. Underdark. 1, 2, 3. The forest and the Underdark. Ah, well then. I think we can combine the two, and it won't be a normal forest. That's for certain. King is rolling up a stat, apparently. You roll the 4d6 and it stops on 4, 4, 3, and 1. If you're creating a character, drop the lowest and add the remaining together. Some DMs may allow you to re-roll a 1. Yeah, it'll be like a mushroom forest, bubonic. And King replaces the 1 with a 5. So, congratulations. That's a good solid 13. Well, King, I mean, I don't know if you want to argue for the absence of luck. It's a very average roll. Has memory got 2, 2, 2, and 1. All right, so if we're gonna have the Underdark, then it's a giant cavern system. If there's anyone new to D&D and you don't know what's an Underdark, it's a giant cavernous system that is underground, and it mimics an outside world, right? So you have mushroom forests, or you'll have underground rivers that would be like an above ground river in some ways, and in others it's still natural but a very shadowy. Somewhat it's almost like a perverse reflection of what you see elsewhere. Fish are still fish and can provide you food, but they're perhaps kind of grotesque and twisted. They're blind things. You know, people are paler or darker despite their being, or like even if you go darker, there's a lack of light, and so they've just blended in. King says Jeremy Crawford wrote the luck feat, therefore it is fallacy. GM's Vault. Oh, a disease is running rampant through the Underdark and affecting the forest above. Is that something going on in one of your games right now, GM? Well, 13 is going to be average, right? Because an average roll on a d6 is 3.5. So 3.5 plus 3.5 is 7. Well, so I guess that's slightly above. Because then you add in the last one, and so that would bring you to 10.5. GM Vault, not in my campaign. Not even sure if there will be an Underdark Adventures. Maybe. Yep, and think about that too. Like if you're going to be a GM, all the content, you know, doesn't have to exist. If you don't want drows, don't allow drows. All right, let's get creative. If we're going to have an Underdark, I think we should have some kind of a mountain range. That will at least act as an entrance. Now, does it have to be? No, it doesn't have to. In fact, we could even do something like this, right? So there's kind of a mountain up here that exists. Whoops. Let's make this like a dark gray. We can even have this be something like the tip of a mountain. Maybe we can make it a mountain pass. Now, I don't even know the scale of this map yet. This is just freeform drawing. Let's just have fun with it. Above ground, this is going to be wilderness. But that doesn't mean that we can't have something like, if this is a mountain pass, maybe lot is be heavily forested. So there's going to be some sort of like a glen in the woods, like right over here. And maybe there's a river. That comes down out of the mountains here. Yeah, let's do like this, right? There we go. Kind of comes down, makes kind of a bulbous lake here. And the river will then follow the lay of the land and kind of creep away like this down to the sea. Now a tendril of it probably makes its way, kind of, we'll oxbow it a little bit and kind of comes over here to just like a little, kind of like a little maiden's pool or something along those lines right over here. And we can have some fun little, like a fun, like a people that live. There's they made a clearing in the little oxbow right here. And so we'll have some kind of society. Oh my gosh. By gosh, by golly. There we go. Now, I want to leave this portion blank because it's here that we're going to descend into the Underdark. And I don't want to fill in too much here. Maybe what's important, right? There's probably some ways to access the Underdark here. But let's make this now the Underdark that is separated from this above ground world that's happening over on this side. GM Vault says another idea: massive deforestation has loosened the soils above the Underdark and is causing cave-ins and sinkholes. Nasty stuff is coming up from below. Yeah, we could illustrate stuff like that, GM Vault. King says, and this has caused an early mating season for spiders, which everything in the Underdark is unprepared for. Memory says, my world won't have wizards, druids, clerics, or paladins because the world is still at a time before all those existed. GM Vault, yes, cross-species mating. That sounds like a good opportunity for that. Just remember that there has to be player buy-in for it to work at Memory Lapse, says Dorgrim. Bubonic One is grumbling. Kruger has returned and has an ice cream star crunch. Did you bring enough for everyone, Kruger? I have the fan on, so if it's making a buzz, let me know. And unfortunately, by having just that like air pass over me, if I look like tired or I'm kind of squinting, unfortunately having a bunch of air pass over, especially because it's coming like out of the AC duct behind me, it can dry out my contacts, and so you may see me kind of like, what? You know, as I'm blinking and trying to get through that because the air is just, it's doing what it's doing. Gravity's no longer functioning, and this is actually a profile view of the Underdark, complete with magically floating water. Entire rivers just winding and twisting in midair next to living gelatinous blobs of thirsty slimes. Yeah, that could end up being the trade route into the Underdark, Bubonic. I was thinking of something perhaps like a lock system. GM Vault says that little pool, have a constant whirlpool that sucks things down into the Underdark. Kruger, you did! You brought enough for us all! Yay! Thank you, Kruger. Alright, now we are going to go back to some freeform drawing. If the Underdark is going to have... Let's see. Whoops, that's not the color that I wanted. You can almost do this by chambers. So here's like a great big chamber that they can make this little maiden pool into a lock. Like a water elevator. So this is going to be a good source of water coming down, and in fact, there could even be an underground river that passes. So we'll use lighter colors to show that it is, in fact, underground. Here. And is part of a bigger... Right? Water's important. Every society, even evil drow, need water to live. Now, because there's moving water, you better believe that there's a very good chance that there's going to be a cavern that has been made around it as it continues to wash the minerals of the soil away. And even have a branch off or so with this underground river. Maybe this one actually kind of goes out this way and forms... This one, it's more of a lake. It doesn't really go anywhere. Just kind of bows out like that. There we go. Make it interesting, right? Kruger adventure is not a command. Whoops. Let's continue this. Maybe this ends in kind of a, almost like a falls. Right? We can have some underground waterfalls. And then it'll pick back up in like a pool area. And that'll just sort of wander away. An underground waterfall seems like a really cool idea. Alright, so for sure, we're going to want some cavern around here. And in fact, maybe we have the cavern ends as the water itself, even though it's underground, is kind of sucked under. Kind of like the whirlpool idea that was thrown out there. So here's some caverns that go into the mountains, like so. And here we're going to have a giant... Actually, we'll even have this kind of butt up against the... There we go, like that. And now this is just a really big area here. There we go. So remember, the gray is representing open area, cavernous area. So maybe this will actually hug one side. And then this will open up. And then the river kind of goes back into the walls. But we can put some kind of a big, like a society or something that lives over here. And there's two ways, right? A little out of the way, a little circuitous here. So we have one route that goes this way, and it flares out. Maybe this is like a check station or something, like so. And then we have another one that kind of like wiggles and worms its way up, like so, and even splits off. So we have a bit of a crossroads going on. And there's something here. But let's have this only be accessible by this crossroads. What is it? I have no clue. But put interesting stuff in your maps like this. You know, figure it out later. Have your players wonder. Because they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. What could be here? I don't know. What could be here? Yeah, Bubonic is a pretty good array. King, yep, just do what's right for you and your group. Exactly. GM Vault, multiple possible entry points in the Underdark will give the GM more versatility in encounters that could land the PCs. That's exactly what I was thinking. Great minds are thinking alike here, GM. You're gonna run with it, Buffy. Okay, where's the lava? We need more lava. Lava, lava, lava. We could do something along those lines, like some thermal vents or some activity, something along those lines, Buffy. So hang on to that lava idea. It's lava-ly. Bubonic, I feel another character creation coming on. Do it, man. And feel free to share with others if you'd like. GM Vault looks like a Paladin Bubonic one. Yeah, Spider Nursery. Ooh. So we can kind of come up. It might mirror the river a little bit, right? It probably gets a little damp under here. It might even flood at times. So this tunnel kind of worms and snakes its way up around. And this will actually come up into this open glen area. You know, so maybe there's a city of humans or something, and they have mausoleums, or they have like some burial mounds. Drow can pop up through tombs and burial mounds. So they'll have their fun little entrance like right over here. This one kind of comes around. Let's make kind of a bigger area. It'll curve back on itself and then continue. And they'll have a fun little pop-up surprise right here. Also, don't be afraid to have just passages that don't lead to anything that's obvious. Right? Just put some fun little side branches, like a little node. You know, does anyone live down there? Maybe, maybe not. Does it really matter? Now here we'll have this tunnel kind of open up, and we can have it cross the underground river and then continue on in maybe two different directions over here. Again, I don't have some grand scheme for this. This is all just, look, it's ideas. Let it happen. You know, take out your MS Paint and let it flow. Whoop. That flowed a little too freely. Let's keep that contained. There we go. Maybe the entrance here, and then it goes underneath the river, and it just comes back up this way. So they can cross above ground here, and then, you know, make their own way. And then, of course, we can continue in here, if we want, under the mountain. And have it do whatever you'd like. You know, so here's a cave through the mountain to the other side. So you can exit into the above ground forest here if you wanted. We'll have one kind of come up this way too. Alright, there we go. Everyone out of the Underdark into the woods if you want. They can then cross the lake normally if they wish. And why is this inflating out this way? Who knows? Who knows? Doesn't really matter. We'll give it something to do. You know, we'll hang in there. Now this chamber opens up after the underground waterfall, and we'll say it hugs it a little bit until now. Ooh, now we have two different. We can follow the river on either side there. There we go. Just let the mouse go. Some sort of a big chamber here. And we don't even know how you get to it. Well, let's just put it here and not even a direct access. Imagination. Whoops. That, you know, I know where the gap is. There we go. You don't have to make things always connect to each other, or if you want to show that perhaps the residents are working on something, have it. So instead of here we have like natural meanderings, maybe caused by water or bugs or, you know, I don't know, magics or something. But if you want to convey maybe there's some sort of progress or work being done, you can do something more like this, where you have a very, like, it's a very straight tunnel. So this is purposely being excavated by non-natural means. And you see how that stands out here in your map of the Underdark? So there's still rock. I don't know, it could be a mile of rock that's in between the two tunnels. But people here and people here are trying to dig back and forth in order to make a connecting tunnel. King says, "Oh, you don't want to use the stream to make a character." Hey, those are supposedly like true random rolls. If you wanted to, you can. That's why I put all the dice on here, King. And Buffy, we'll throw a little bit of lava in here too for some funsies. Memory says, "I've ran a couple games before, so I know where I stand as a DM. I'm a little more old school when it comes to worlds, but if you have players that like worlds with a little less magic, it's not inconceivable to make it so that even though it's more of an old school world." GM Fault says, "Not sure if you can do it in MS Paint, but I would do 2 layers, above ground and Underdark." Yeah, I don't think that exists in Paint as far as I know, GM Vault, but I know what you're talking about. It looks like the underspleen. Memory says, "But I also have at least one player that likes a little magic, so I have to make that possible for them somehow." Which I've done, by the way. Plus, as soon as they heard that I got into D&D and heard that I am a DM from the get-go, they immediately jumped on board before even knowing what world I would have had them in. And it's all because they know me very well and how my approach to tabletop. Mola Molkua, looks like you're the Bob Ross. We're just making happy little drow. I mean, not really drow, but we're doing Underdark stuff here. You know, we're creating worlds. We create worlds up here, Mola Molkua. We create worlds in here, and then we also use MS Paint and create worlds. But thank you for the sentiment. In fact, maybe we can even do something here where, you know, Buffy wanted some lava here. Maybe this tunnel was complete. Or maybe this tunnel actually ran into a problem because there is some kind of a lava pit. that spans the area, and it's just too difficult to dig through or across. There we go. Needs a maze-like area. Think an anthill. Yeah, so we can make that off of somewhere as well. We can say, all right, so over in this direction. Whoops. Over in this direction, there's a maze, and I don't know. Maybe it's meant to train warriors or something, or it leads. I don't know. It leads somewhere. Could lead above ground, something along those lines. But yeah, then you can have a big, purposely built, constructed area, such as a maze or a labyrinth, as GM Vault had suggested. Okay. Oh, pardon me. That's rude. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We can indicate that there's a lot of little branches, right? So like these are just bigger tunnels. Maybe the scale here is that these tunnels are half a mile wide or a mile wide. I mean, so we could say, yeah, there's a bunch of little squiggly, you know. So here's our development. You know, here's side tunnels and stuff, and you can even put little cul-de-sacs here for the Drow Condominium Society, to because you know they love cul-de-sacs. And so you can have a bunch of little out branches like this, you know, little communities that either live in a big cavern, just with a narrow entrance, or you could make it like a little road map that they've just sort of gone into the little cracks and crevices around. The underburbs. GM Vault, yes. These are the underburbs. That's great. Oh my gosh. Maybe this over here is maybe this is like almost a big hot spring, and you know, so like there's some volcanic activity here, or we could even carry it over here, and then we actually have, this is a hot spring area right here. So this would probably like fill this entire cavern with steam. Everything would be slick and kind of slimy. A whole different biome for plants and creatures to grow in, and whoever lives down here as well. But just think about that. If you just have in this big limestone or some other stone cavern, just this thermal pool that's simmering and steaming and throwing out, you know, and then it's hitting the cold cavernous walls. Everything would be slick and shiny and beautiful, but also maybe sickly. There could be diseases or algae or some other things that are growing here and nowhere else in the world. Remember saying, like, for instance, and I know this sounds absurd but true, take MTG. Nobody here knew that I played MTG, but about 5 years ago people stopped playing me because I couldn't lose to anything but land flood or not having enough, and didn't use the best cards. I just follow a theory. I will beat you into the dust with just one little 1/1 or 2/2 and keep the board clear. I can't even do it with a mono green without any removal. Or you can. I'm sorry, you can. I did not know that you played Magic. That's really cool, though, Memory. You know, just as this is a thermal, like an underground hot spring, we can also have, it was brought up to have an underground forest. You know, we have normal forest here, and that's fine. And maybe some of that's kind of grown in. Maybe this over here is almost like a big enchanted forest area. You know, you got the freshwater lake. So we can use maybe a dark purple, like a dark violet instead, to help represent this. You know, so the forest and everything's kind of crept in. And it really starts around here. And it follows the inside paths. And it jumps over and it really fills out the bulk of what is going on here. There we go. And if this is sort of a water elevator, then water elevations here might be going up and down. So why don't we draw in that this place actually does experience some flooding, right? Maybe it's a little marshy. And it turns marshy all throughout this little delta area here. Whoops. There we go. Oh, although I kind of messed up and that spread further than what I wanted. All right, well, anyway, you'll get the idea here. Super Colliders, lurk away, friend. It's good to see you, though. Thank you for commenting. It's good to have friends in wordplay places, isn't it, Kruger? Memory Lapse says that means I'll come home from the days without green removal like Prey Upon or Hunt the Weak. Alright, so we can go through, and I think you get the idea, right? We'll come up with a ton of ideas that we want to add. And you don't even need to randomly roll what's here. We just had a fun creative process. We can say that maybe there are some sinkholes coming down, and if you want to represent that with, we'll use pink, right? Because that rhymes with sink. And so here, there's actually... maybe there's a really big sinkhole that goes above ground and it kind of touches here. Indicate it however you want. Come up with ideas. Just put stuff on paper. Or digital paper, as it were. And if you really want some other ideas, some extra ideas, look, go to your DMG. Look at weird locales. Let's say we want to put a weird locale here in this area. Let's roll a D20. We got a 19. There's a canyon containing a dragon's graveyard here underground. Where would that exist? Where would an underground canyon containing a dragon's graveyard be? Maybe it's over here. It's in the mushroom forest. Maybe because the state of decay of the bodies of the dragons. You don't have to worry about undead, but it just gave rise because the fungus that lived down here finally was able to process dragon flesh and whatever. It's synchronized with the innate magic inside of it. And so all throughout here, this, you know, there could just be several sources, like big sources of fungi, and they're all growing out of these dragon corpses. You can think about things like weather. You can think about, like, is there slippery ice or natural hazards like like what we saw there with the razor vine or whatever. Yeah, it was razor vine. Now, you can also go through and say, all right, so who lives down here? How do they get along? Do you want to manufacture that yourself? You certainly can. Though, if you enjoy the challenge, why not roll it randomly? Who does live in this underground area? Is it just, I don't know, drow? Do drow not even live down here? Do drow not exist? Is this really just a big open cave network and, you know, a bunch of bandits have, you know, taken over different portions of it? Monsters have moved in. It's just super naturalized, and so there's not really, like, you'll explore, but you may as well be exploring, you know, just virgin pristine jungle, being the first Englishman hunter in the savannah to enter these sub-Saharan jungles and such. It doesn't always have to have drow or Duragar or Darrow or anyone else. Think about everything. If you took a wrong turn in the underburbs and you found yourself now in this maze or in this development, or let's say you found yourself in this weird cavern, right? Then have fun with it. In fact, you can create. Oh, come on. You can create a great sense of isolation and foreignness to a party that otherwise is like, yeah, we're rangers. We get along with nature. You can isolate people quickly when they're this far underground, when they are surrounded by so much flora and fauna that they just haven't seen. And if you ever want map making ideas, look, consult other places that maps have been made, that biomes have been created, that some sort of an interesting aesthetic and natural balance has been reached in different portions of the same world that you're wishing to emulate. Delcorin, howdy. So yeah, don't be afraid to reference, don't be afraid to do that. Memory says, when I do venture out of green, I play an archetype that is very unheard of anymore. Some would just call it control, but it goes beyond control and follows a theory. Like gathering firewood for a campfire, gather more. It's called the hate archetype. Creature hate to be specific, and as the plan B hate, like tools you need to build that fire, grave, and hand hate. Have you tried going pro at all, or are you pro? You don't have to give out details. If you do not want to hand out personal details, you do not have to, Memory Lapse. But do you do any videos or content about this? Do you mentor people? Are you a judge? What is your interaction? Oh, pardon me. Also, as Game Master's Vault indicated, if you want to use a more complex tool, you can do this in layers. And this will come across as a little easier. For right now, look, this is all solid stone. Ostomer, thank you very much for the host. 94 of 100. You'll get there. You'll get there. So this could be rock. This could be who knows what. But we know it's not empty space. It's not the map of the Underdark that we're creating here. Yes, Ostomer, good morning again from Hungary. Thank you so much for that host and for returning back and being a part of what we have going on here. Look, as we do, simple guides to D&D, as we roll random characters, we're using nothing more than MS Paint in order to create a randomly determined area that has Underdark influence and a forest influence. Because look, as a player or a DM, you don't need a bunch of fancy tools. You don't need hundreds of dollars worth of programs or things like that. Paint can work very well. If you want to make this a society... Oh, pardon me. then obviously the scale of the... Oh, Ostomer, thank you, and congratulations on being the number one right now. The seal has been broken, but you are currently wearing the gold, Ostomer. Thank you so much for that. If you want this to be a tight-knit community, and these are more like alleyways or streets in a city, then the map is a lot closer than you think. If you want these to be disparate colonies, just all underground, this is suddenly a vast, a bigger map. And you could go through then and say, all right, so race relations are going to be different in the big map between, you know, this area, you know, like Twin Bow Lake or something, and this in this area of Sauna Stone or something like that. And they're going to have their own calamities. They're going to have their own leaders and other things going on. They're going to have their own features. And don't be afraid to create and imagine. And if you need to retract something later, retract it. You know, ruler status. Are they respected, fair, and just? Are they a feared tyrant? Are they a religious leader? Each area is known for its delicious cuisine, rude people, greedy merchants, artists and writers, and so forth. But if you want this to be one city, then all of the portions here are generally known for, I don't know, let's just roll d20 just for poops and ha-has. Number 9. Known for its dark magic. There we go. So, if this is one city, then everyone here is known because they have this intrinsic, you know, black magic to them. Some kind of darkness. Maybe it's because they're in such close contact with some underground demon or something along those lines. Look, all of a sudden we rolled a random die, and all of a sudden the story opportunities are pouring out. Hopefully you at home are, as we're talking about this, as these concepts are being brought up, you say, oh yeah, okay, so let me get this. Mushroom forest. What about this and this? And it just keeps going and going, because you may say something, and that one thing could unlock further ideas in your own noggin, or it can help your friends become more imaginative and set the pace of, no, it's cool, you can ask questions here, you're perfectly fine. So, all right, you know, this is something we can touch upon. I'm gonna have to get up and stretch and take one more break. I've been going since, oh my gosh, I needed to get up, and it's 12 hours. Ooh. Okay, yeah, I've been up for about 16 hours or so, maybe a little bit more. So unfortunately, you know, I have the cold wind blowing and whatnot, but I ate a good meal. I have some nice water and everything. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up and stretch. We'll go into part 3. We'll have a fun part 3. You know, we can finish up a conversation. We can add touches to the map. You all can continue sharing your stories like Memory Lapse is here. You've been to a Grand Prix before and would have taken first. You were undefeated, but I happened upon getting sick and had to forfeit because I had pneumonia. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm glad that you're healthy and with us. That's more important. But oh my gosh, that has to hurt. I haven't gone back since, but I might do it in the future. I mentored quite a few players around me, especially friends, and they are some of the best players I know. In fact, the only one that I know of that can beat them is myself. So we haven't gotten to that Darth Vader point of, you know, now the student beats the master kind of a thing. All right, so hang out. I'm gonna get some blood flowing. I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna talk to my cats like a psycho because they're lurking. And when I come back, I'll give out some EXP for making it to part 3, and we'll finish out conversations, and then we'll find someone to raid. Just unfortunately, I'm not calling this night short because I'm sick, or, you know, some emotional distress because of the loss of the cat. But just because I've been up and I've been doing errands and been pretty busily moving the whole time. So give me like 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and get things wrapped up. Thank you. Okay, I have returned. I also brought some chips and salsa with me. Something a little bit spicy to, you know, keeps me going and satisfies a little bit of a munch. The cats are certainly curious. So, Ostomer, thank you again for the 10 bits. I really appreciate that. And I would love to hear your role-playing experience, Ostomer. Because you know what? I don't think a lot of people realize how prevalent role-playing is outside of their own native country. And if you're willing, you don't have to, but Ostomer, I'd love to hear what is the role-playing community like in your part of the world. Hello. It's funny because when I watch the pro players, I'm constantly saying to them through the screen, even though I know they can't hear me, play this card or that card. 9 times out of 10 times, they would have won that game if they would have just played that card. Says Memory Lapse. Just do it. You're like the old coach, Memory Lapse. Like we're gonna make like a documentary film out of you or something. Also, add points all 40. Thank you. We've made it to part 3 successfully. Dun, 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 dun.